This is Helium browser. I've been using this browser to watch YouTube videos and, well, browse the internet because, well, it's an internet browser. If you don't know, Helium has been getting a lot of hype recently. It is Chromium, but very private. It doesn't have all the bloat. It doesn't track you. Best privacy by default, not as a hidden option. It is literally right there on their website. It uses less RAM than Google Chrome, way more private than Google Chrome, way lighter, opens way faster, and it is open source, if that matters to you. But there's another browser. It's not a new browser, actually. It is called Librewolf. I think if you've been trying to be more private on the internet and you've been doing research on privacy, pretty sure you've come across this browser at least once. Today, we're going to be comparing Helium versus Librewolf. First one is installation and first-time user experience, how easy it is to install it, and the first time user experience. 2 is privacy features. 3, customization and features. We're going to be testing out how customizable it is and extension support, and also the features the browser has. Performance, we're going to be testing out RAM usage, time it takes to open the browser, and more. Day-to-day usability, like browsing the web and see if websites break or not. And I've been using both of these browsers for the past few months. I've been switching between both of them, so I'm pretty sure I'm qualified to do the day-to-day usability because I've been using it for a while. First time I installed Helium was on this video 3 months ago. A few days later, I installed Librewolf on this video. Alright, so installation. When you're on Librewolf, you get greeted with this website. Librewolf is basically a custom version of Firefox focused on privacy, security, and freedom. Now, the website is on dark mode, but by default, the website looks like this. Ouch! You can actually turn it to dark mode up here. They have links for their Codeberg, Matrix, Reddit, and also, what the frick is this? So they have their source code. Yes, it's fully open source. Both of these browsers are fully open source. Documentation and installation. But we're focusing on the installation here. So for the installation, and they have install instructions for all of these operating systems. I'm using Arch Linux, so I'm going to click Arch Linux. You can install it with Yay using yay-s Librewolf or Librewolf-bin. They also have a note here. For faster installation, Librewolf-bin is recommended. Let's just go ahead and install Librewolf with Librewolf-bin. Copy this, and I'm going to paste it on my terminal. For that, let's just show you guys all the other distros that they have installation instructions for. This is Debian based. Debian is, I'm pretty sure, the same as Ubuntu. Now, Gen 2, if you're crazy, Fedora, and OpenSUSE. I covered OpenSUSE on my last video. My cat picked OpenSUSE. Wait, what? OpenBSD? Alright, now for Helium. If you're using Linux, and you click download here, it doesn't show the install instructions. It just downloads the app image. And for me, I don't really like the app image files. I much prefer just installing it using my package manager or AUR helper, or maybe even compiling it. Now, Helium does have like install instructions, but if you're like the average person, you probably won't know where it's at. It's actually on the GitHub page right here. You have to scroll down, then you have to go to this section, Helium repos, and then go to Helium for Linux. It has install instructions for 2 distros, which are Fedora and Debian/Ubuntu. Wait, no, sorry, 3 distros, yeah. But there's no instructions for Gen 2, Arch, etc. But if you're using Windows or Mac OS, then yeah, it doesn't really matter because macOS uses like one file to install, Windows uses .exe, right? Kind of a deal breaker if you're using Linux and you're new to it and you can't really build stuff from source on GitHub or whatever. For the installation, Librewolf wins here. I'll give Librewolf half a point because there's another one here which is first time user experience. So this is how Librewolf looks like when you first launch it, and this is how Helium looks like when you first launched it. They look pretty similar because, well, by default, I think almost every browser just looks like this, right? Librewolf looks a lot like Firefox. Now, for the first user experience, they're kind of equal, but I might have to give a point to Helium because, well, when you first installed Librewolf, there's this setting that's kind of confuse some people who don't know anything. This setting right here, clear cookies and site data every time you close Librewolf. When I first installed Librewolf, I was wondering why and where I signed in on websites actually are gone. When you close Librewolf, it erases all the data and all the cookies by default. This might not be a deal breaker for you if you've been using the browser, but if you're new to it and you've already signed into a lot of websites, you close the browser, next time you open it, it's gone. That can be a deal breaker, right? And also, Librewolf doesn't enable fix major site issues and fix minor site issues by default. It has enable resist fingerprinting. I actually like this setting, but for the average user, they might not like this setting and they might not really care. It actually kind of breaks dark mode. That can be a pretty big deal breaker, right? First time user experience, I'll give Helium half a point here. Now, privacy features. Here is where Librewolf outshines Helium. One, they have strict protection and it is based on Firefox. Now you see, Chrome does have some closed source stuff, but Firefox here, everything here is open source. The protection on Librewolf is a lot more mature than Helium because Librewolf is been around for longer than Helium browser. Now you can see that Librewolf is pretty minimalist. Now if you let's say compare that to Helium, you might be like, oh, it has way less settings. Helium is probably better, right? Actually, no. Librewolf, from my experience and from a lot of people's testimonies and reviews, better for privacy than Helium by quite a little bit actually, and more mature than Helium. You can also adjust more stuff on the about config right here, if you know what you're doing though, because if you don't, browser might not be as usable. Both ship with uBlock Origin by default, which is one of the most powerful ad blockers out there. Ad block score tests, I thought it was going to be absolutely the same, but Helium scores 99 out of 100. Librewolf scores 100 out of 100. I might have to give Librewolf a point. It's time for customization. Both of these are pretty good for customization because both of these support extensions. Librewolf uses addons.mozilla.org, and this is how the Firefox Mozilla add-on store looks like. Librewolf has this thing called vertical tabs. Helium also has vertical tabs, but Helium has more browser layouts. Classic, it looks like this. Dynamic, which is basically classic but is like flipped. And they also have the compact one. I actually kind of like the compact one. Finally, vertical tabs, which is overall my favorite. I can't live without vertical tabs now. So on Helium for customization here, you can click down here. I'm using the Capuchin Chrome theme. We can also change the wallpaper, change it to my cat. And the background color does change, depends on what image I use, and it adapts to it. You can also change it from up here though. You can also do that with Librewolf. Click upload an image right here. Boom. I have my cat as the background image. Librewolf ports themes from addons.mozilla.org. I've installed one theme, which is this. Let me just enable it. It has animated themes, while Helium browser doesn't have support for animated themes. This isn't really a huge deal breaker though, because both of these browsers are very customizable. I actually kind of like Firefox themes a bit more than Chrome themes because, I mean, look at this. Black cat sleeping. Fruitiger Kitsune. Damn, bro. Both are really good for customizability. Librewolf wins in terms of themes, though. It's very good. So I'll give them both a point because of how good they are. Now it's time for us to test the performance. But the first test we're going to do is we're going to have no tabs open at all, and let's see the RAM usage. By the way, I do have the same extensions installed on both of these browsers. So Librewolf uses this much RAM. I'll list it on the screen right now. And this is how much RAM Helium uses. RAM usage isn't everything unless you have low RAM and, well, your RAM usage is 90%. I think for most people who have 8 gigabytes or more RAM, this wouldn't be really a problem. Next up, we're going to test the time it takes to open the browser. So let's just do time Librewolf first, and let's see how fast it is. It took 2.06 seconds. Let's do time Helium-browser. It took 2.57 seconds, so 1 second difference. I'll class them as equal because the difference isn't significant. In my opinion, a significant difference is 3 or more seconds. Now it's time to test the RAM usage with 5 tabs open. Oh yeah, we're doing Helium first, and then we'll do Librewolf. Yeah, the RAM usage on Helium is this much. You guys can notice that Librewolf has less processes running than Helium, which is actually a bonus for me. So for performance, I'll give a point to Librewolf. Now it's time for the last test, which is the day-to-day usability, which in my opinion, second most important one below privacy, because if you use a browser and it isn't usable on a day-to-day basis, like watch YouTube videos or browse online, if it isn't useful for those, then it isn't a good browser. From my 3 months of using both of these browsers, Helium browser actually wins in terms of like your comfortability when browsing, because this is based in Chromium. Privacy features, ad blocking isn't as aggressive on Helium than Librewolf. Websites break less compared to Librewolf. Some websites, when I'm asked to like use my camera, and it just crashes, but it's not a problem with Helium because it's a lot less aggressive when it comes to the privacy features, and it's based in Chromium. Helium actually also lacks something called sync. Helium has like a local account. You can add a Helium profile, but it doesn't have sync. Librewolf actually has this feature called Firefox Sync because it is based on Firefox. For me, I prefer to disable it because Librewolf does have fixed major site issues. Now, if you don't enable this, a lot of websites might not work. I really just recommend enabling this if you're using Librewolf. These browsers, at the end of the day, they're both web browsers and they do what they're supposed to do pretty well. Still do use Librewolf sometimes. Really focused on privacy, you can go ahead and use Librewolf.